Sarah. I'm one of the tutors here at Artworks, and I'm really excited today to be delivering this flower illustration workshop for you. This is one of my absolute most favourite topics. I love flowers. I'm not very good at growing them, but I love drawing them. So I'm really excited to share this with you. This session is going to be targeting people of all abilities, all skill levels. Any age group can do this, and it's basically aimed at people though that are complete beginners. So if you've never drawn a flower before, you don't feel like you've ever drawn anything really before, this will be perfect for you just to get you going and just to help build your confidence. If you've drawn lots before, this is just something really nice and gentle and relaxing that you can have a go at and have a try at as well. Okay, so can't wait to get going with this. So I've got a selection of just a few little flowers here, and natural items just to show you, just as a little introduction. I've not got loads of flowers to work from, again we're keeping this really simple, so there's no pressure on you to go out and buy a big bunch of flowers and spend money on this. These are things that you can use, you can just work from this video, but I've just got a few little things here just for inspiration. I've got a magnifying glass, so if you happen to have one of these at home as well, these are great for looking at the detail. So I've just got some fake flowers here, which I think are beautiful. You can get some fantastic versions of these. They've got lots of lovely detail, lots of textures, and they last forever. So I use these when I'm teaching sometimes as well instead of real ones, and they work just as well for capturing the essence of a flower. I've got these little dried leaves that I found on a walk. Again, if you look at these with your magnifying glass, they're absolutely beautiful. There's something really delicate and fragile about these, and there's a simplicity to them as well, which is what we're going to look at capturing. And I love these little flower heads as well. Again, they're very small, very delicate, but when you look at them with the magnifying glass, you see all these beautiful layers of colour and detail and texture. So there's just a few little things there as inspiration that you might find when you go out on a little walk, or things you might find if you go in a shop in town and pick up a really lovely fake flower, or go out and buy some real ones for inspiration. The choice is yours really. But yeah, what we're aiming at today is just capturing the essence of the flowers, the simplicity of them, and almost creating little caricatures and doodles of them. So that's the plan for today. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is just to draw and warm up, just to get you going, and we're going to look at continuous line drawing. So I've got some examples here of some different flowers, and there's a leaf here as well that we're just going to have a go at copying, just with one single continuous line. These are going to be quick drawings. Some of them we're going to be looking at what we're doing, others you're not going to be looking at your paper when you draw, so there's a bit of fun element to it as well. So they might not completely go to plan, but it's more the process and just getting you going and getting you loosened up. That's what we're aiming at first of all. So I've got 4 examples here that we're going to work from. We've got this lovely leaf, again with just this lovely single line that loops round and just takes you on a journey around this leaf in a really simple way, but it captures, again, like I said, the essence of that leaf. And so I'm going to have these up in front of me up here, and I'm going to work from them. We've got this lovely flower. Again, you can see this single line journey that the pen's gone on. And it's just looped round, round and round again. So we're going to have to go at that one as well. I've got this lovely rose, again, just a really simple spiral at the top. A single line can say so much when you're drawing flowers or drawing anything. I love this one. This is a great one to do with not looking as well. And you're doing all these different petals and trying to get them all connected to that centre point. That's a good fun one. I think we'll leave that one till last. Okay. So I've got this big A2 sheet of paper I'm going to work on. You might want to just do these on single sheets of A4 paper, work in your sketchbook, printer paper, anything you want. You can draw on wallpaper, you could draw on backs of envelopes. This could be done on anything. So I'm just going to use a bigger sheet of paper just for demonstration purposes, and I've got a black Sharpie pen, so because it's quite a strong, gives a strong line for videoing purposes. But you could do this again with a pencil, a biro, whatever you happen to have around the house, or in an art pack or anything. Okay, so I'm going to work on the leaf first, this one. So I'm going to pop this to one side. And I'm just going to start at this point at the bottom. I'm going to just start on my paper down. Let's have a look, I'll start here. So I'm going to put my pen on my paper, and I'm literally just going to follow the line round. I love the sound the pen makes as well. Something quite soothing about it. And there, that's a little bit wonky. It doesn't look quite like that one, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just enjoy the process. We're not looking for perfection. We could take a photograph if we want that. Okay, so I might try that one again. I'm going to do just a little one this time. So think about the scale of what you're doing as well. You might want to swap pens after this one and try and use a pencil or something. Okay, so what I'm going to do next, I'm going to draw this without looking at my paper now and see how that goes. Okay, so I'm going to move my paper over a little bit. Have this in front of me, my paper over there. Right, hope that's still in shot. I'm just going to look at this one and try not peep. Okay. Literally just takes a few seconds. There. Okay, so you can see it's still very similar to the others, slightly wonky, but it doesn't matter. Okay, so I'm going to do the same for the next three. So I'm going to do a few more on this page. I might start a second page if it gets a little bit full as well. Okay, some of them might overlap as well. Okay, so that's the plan. Okay, so these ones now are going to be the blind contour drawing, so I'm going to not be looking at my paper when I draw these. So I'm going to hold these up in front of me. We'll try it that way. So there's no chance of me peeping. You can see me on camera as well, so you'll know if I'm having a little sneaky peep. Okay, so let's see. I'll save this one till last actually. Start with the leaf. So another quick one of this one, which we've already done once. It's maybe about 10 seconds maybe. So that's my leaf. It's going to be a bit wonky, but I love wonky drawings. That's where you get the character in your drawings. Right, let's have a look at this one now. So I'm going to do this one. Again, no peeping. Let's try and get these petals connected. Ooh, not quite, but again, you can still tell it's a flower. And I'll get this rose. Ooh, quite like that one. I actually prefer that one to this one. So sometimes you get these lovely happy accidents as well. For this one, I'm going to have it a little bit higher up. I'm going to fill the space above. This was the one I find hardest. I nearly looked then. Yeah, there we go. This one always ends up completely wonky, but to me that suggests maybe it's been blown in the wind and it's all the petals again shuffled around. So those are my blind contour drawings. So our artist inspiration is going to be Angie Wynne. She's a British printmaker and artist who creates the most absolutely beautiful illustrations inspired by the flora and fauna that you find in the British Isles, especially the Norfolk coast and the Scottish Highlands. So what I've got here are some examples of some of her prints. She also does the most beautiful watercolour paintings as well. And what she'll do is she'll just capture the simplicity of the flowers. She'll go out on a nature walk, collect, either draw in nature or collect some beautiful examples of little dried flowers or pebbles even, all sorts of different things. She might bring them back to a studio, set up a still life and draw from that. Or like I said, draw while she's out in nature. And as you can see here, some examples of her work, they're very doodly. So she's able to capture the most beautiful landscape illustrations, and they almost look like little characters in themselves. She's stripped them right back to basics with the most simplest of forms, but manages to capture these beautiful, beautiful detailed, like I said, drawings or lino prints and all sorts of different variations of printing. With just a massive colour and detail. Everywhere you look you'll see something different. So our inspiration is her work today, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull elements of these and create a composition using some of the very simple doodles that she's created in her work. I think if you're an absolute beginner, sometimes it's great to use an artist as your initial starting point. Do this, have a practice, and then after this you've watched this video, maybe go out, go on a walk, find some examples of things out in nature and have a go at creating your own versions of these. Okay, but we'll use her work as a starting point for this video. So what I've got here is it's just a photocopy of a larger piece of work that I did I've just pulled examples of Angela Wynne's work. I've got it all laid out here in front of me and just highlighted certain ones that I really like, pulled out my favourites and just built up a composition with them. I've got another couple of versions here that are simpler that I've used in previous classes with students. So again, these ones are more spaced out, so students were working along with me and kind of copying these as I drew. I've got another version here as well. Okay, so you can see with these I've added a little hint of colour at the end as well. So this is what I'm going to talk you through first of all. So I'll just move these out of the way and then we'll get going. Okay, so I have a selection of lots of different pens and a pencil. Some of these are waterproof, so if you added water over the top they won't smear and smudge, but some of them will. So what I thought would be really nice is to draw with different pens on this composition that I'm going to do, this doodle composition, and then I'm going to add little hints of water over the top of some of the flowers and you'll see the colours run on some of them, the inks. I'm also going to use some watercolour pencils in a little bit as well. They're over there, you wonder where I'm looking. Just to show you how to use those to add a splash of colour as well. But first of all, we're just going to draw very simple doodles of flowers. So I'll move these to one side. I think I'm just going to have a start with, I'll just use one of my black fine liners. And I'll take inspiration from this book. I think I'm going to do this one first. I love this flower. So I'm just going to draw anywhere. I'll keep this one quite big. So it's lovely as this because you can have some quite dramatic flower doodles. You can have some quite delicate ones, little mini ones, big bold ones. It's up to you how you want to approach this. You can find your own natural way of working when you're doing this, whatever you enjoy the most. I have some students that work in very fine, delicate detail, and some that just go for it and do really big, bold, dramatic pieces. So I've got that one. I'm going to start with that one. Let's try this pen. So I think I'll draw quite like this one here. I'm going to do this one there. Again, just keeping really simple. Could even add in some of your continuous line drawings to this composition as well, so you've got a mixture of the two. If you come up with any of your own drawings or doodles as well, add those in as well. I think these ones are water soluble. You might get a bit of a surprise when I do these and add water and see what works and what doesn't. Right, let's have a look at another flower. Quite like this one here. I'm going to do this one now. I'm going to do quite a bold one in the middle. I'm not overly worried if my lines don't match up either, if they don't connect together, it doesn't matter. We've all got little buds on the end. So hopefully, this just being a simple felt pen, if I add water to the little tips of these, that should give it like a painterly quality. It should look nice. And we'll see at the end. There's always a little bit of an element of surprise with this kind of work, which is good fun. I'm going to add a few more and then I'll just carry on, a few more demonstration ones, and then I'm just going to carry on and fill this page full of illustrations, and then we'll come back together afterwards and start adding a little bit more colouring, little watercolour washes. Right, let's see. Oh, this is a lovely one. Let's try a different pen. I'm going to use this as just a waterproof fine liner for this one. And it's very delicate, is that line. I hope it's showing up on the video. Is this an agapanthus, I think? It reminds me of being in Cornwall on holiday. You can always go back into these and add more detail as well. What you do initially might be just a little starting point, and then you can just build and build on what you're doing. So I'm going to build more layers in here now. That one went a little bit wrong, it doesn't matter. If you do make mistakes with this, the beauty of it is you can build other layers of flowers and doodles over the top, so no one will be able to see it. There'll be that much detail by the end that any mistakes or bits that you're not happy with will be hidden. And there is no such thing as a mistake, by the way. They're happy accidents, think of them that way. That's when those magical moments happen, when something unexpected appears in your work. Okay, so I'll do one more. Let's have a look. There's too many to choose from. Ooh, I like this one here. This is a nice one. I don't know what it is. I'll use this pen. So when you're drawing these, they might not look exactly like the examples here. You might kind of personalise them a little bit, add your little twist to them. That's absolutely fine as well. These are just little gentle, fun doodles just to get you going with flower drawing. There we go. So those are just a few that I've pulled from these pictures, and then I'm just going to carry on now and just add a few more layers of doodles on here, and then we'll come back again in a few minutes. So here's my composition. So you can see here that I've layered up some of the flower doodles. I could have kept going and going and going. It's very hard to know when to stop. So what I'm going to do is pause this now. I've sat back, had a look and thought, right, I'm quite happy with how it looks. So I'm going to start adding some colour and some watercolour washes over some of the pens as well, just to see if the ink runs and see how it looks once I've done that. And then I might go in and add more. So I might leave it for a day or two and come back to it. I don't know yet. I've no idea how this is going to look at the end, but I'm going to show you that initial starting point just to get you going on your own work. So resources wise, I've got some watercolour pencils, which are great. So you literally just use them like a normal pencil, add a very subtle bit of water, paint with a paintbrush. You can even use your finger, tap your finger in and add a bit of water, and this will turn straight into paint. So they're lovely for adding little splashes of colour for an activity like this. I've got some colour chalk pastels, which I'm going to use in part of this to show you how to create an immediate background colour as well, just by smudging it. So they're great. I've got a couple of paintbrushes. These are just cheap paintbrushes from, you know, the works or cheap pound shops. Sometimes have brushes that are great, or you could spend more money on these, but there's no pressure to go out and spend a lot of money. Chocolate spread jar for my water. Hairspray for fixing the pastels. That's handy. That's again just a cheap one from Tesco's, I think, and some paper towels as well. So that's what I'm going to use for this. So this is the fun bit. So now we start that unknown element, because I don't know which pens are water soluble, which ones are waterproof, and also start adding that little hint of colour as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is use one of my soft pastels, and I'm just going to demonstrate how to create that lovely subtle background colour. I'll just do it on a little section of it. I'm not going to do it on all of it. So I've got this, I quite like using these sort of sandy colours. And then I'm just going to do a very subtle, I'm not pressing hard, just spread it over the background of the paper. I'm going to use a paper towel and just smudge it in. I'm not sure if this will show up on the video, if you'll be able to see the colour, because it is very subtle and very delicate. I do this quite often in class. Again, it's great for just having that immediate quick splash of colour without having to use paints and things. But again, if you have paints when you're watching this video, you could have a go at doing that and create a painted background as well. So you can see one half of this has just got a very subtle background colour. Right, so let's have a think. I'm going to have a go with my water, one of my little paintbrushes, and I think these ones will smudge if I add water on. So I'm just going to sit this on a piece of paper towel so it doesn't mess up my paper. And let's give it a try and see what happens. In fact, actually, I think this is a water soluble one. Let's see. Yes, it is. So I'm going to do with this one. Oh, look at that already. Get really excited at this point. So you can see the ink from the pen. It's literally just smearing and smudging and blending and bleeding into the water. So I'm just going to add this subtle wash to it, and I'm just going to leave it and see what happens. So the more water you add, the more it'll run. So the less control you'll have over where the ink goes. But again, this is that unknown element, which is always quite exciting. So if you do that, leave that to dry, then you could go in and add a little bit more colour to it with coloured pencils, or add paint, or just leave it as it is. I think that just looks lovely, just like that. So it's just got this lovely feel to it. Let's have a look. think these ones might be soluble as well. Let's try. Yes. Look at this one. So that's quite a dramatic, immediate effect. So that's a different pen. I think that's just a cheap black felt tip pen, I think. And that gives you almost like a lovely purpley colour as well. So that's just playing around with the water soluble element. I might carry on and do a bit more with that. I'm going to use some watercolour pencils now as well for some of these and just add a bit of colour with those. So let's have a think. What colour am I going to use for this one? I think I'll use a purple colour and a yellow. So again, I'm keeping these quite subtle and quite simple. Again, remember we're aiming this at people that are complete beginners, so I don't want to go into too much detail with this. Again, it's very, very simple, very, very basic, but with lovely outcomes. So I'm just using my watercolour pencils. I mean, you don't have to use watercolour pencils, you should just use normal pencils. But when I add water to this, it will hopefully make the colours run into each other. Unless the pen is water soluble, then there could be a bit of a mixture of different colours working together. So I'm just doing these quite quickly because they're water based. You don't need to shade them in really perfectly because all that, all the colour is going to run and smudge anyway, so you don't need to spend ages being really accurate because it's all going to start running anyway. So let's see what happens here now. Fingers crossed the pen's not water soluble. Yeah. So that's just giving it just a really subtle wash. And I'm going to start with the yellow in the middle and then just work my way out to the lilac colour. And so you've got a painting without actually having to go out and buy paints. So I've done a bit of a smudge there, look, so I could always draw another doodle over the top of that and hide it. So again, if you make any little potential mistakes, you can hide them. This is really relaxing to do as well. Been doing lots of wellbeing based sessions over the last year and a half, and this kind of thing has been really soothing and very relaxing for people, and easily accessible as well. Let's have a think, what else could we do? Oh, decisions, there's too many to choose from. I think I'm going to do blue on this one, so we'll do these in blue. And I might slightly overlap these ones, so I'm going to do the water over the outside of these shapes. Whereas these I've kept within the lines. This one's going to overlap slightly, just so it feels a bit freer and a little bit looser. There's my brush there. There we go. Quite like that, how it goes. If it goes out the lines, it's got that lovely, almost print quality when you look at textiles sometimes and the print's slightly off centre. There's kind of like a little bit of a freedom to it. We don't want perfection with this. We want more like little caricatures. So again, if you don't have a paintbrush, you could always just dip your finger in use your finger. That works just as well. Might not be quite as controlled, but anything goes. You can use anything. And basically that's what I'm going to do now. I'm just going to carry on with this and just start adding more layers of colour. Oh, actually, I'll just show you a pastel one. It's about that. So I've got my pastels here. So if I want to add a splash, oh, a splodge there, look. Let's get my paper towel and dab that. When you're working, you might actually want to have some paper under your hand to stop that happening. So maybe a sheet of A4 paper or something if you're using paints, or start on one side and work your way along. I'm left-handed, so start adding the water here and work way along the paper as well. So those are things to think about. Colour-wise, let's have a look. I might add, let's have a pink colour. I think I'm going to do these in pink. And then I'm just going to smudge these with my finger. And that just gives you an immediate bright splash of colour. And you might want to smudge it all over your paper, it's up to you. I quite like it. I'm keeping these quite controlled for this one. And then with my paintbrush, if I remember rightly, these are water soluble. So if I go in and add some water on the tips of these, yeah, there we go, look, they're smudging. Yeah, that's quite a dramatic one in the middle of this composition. So, like I said earlier, you could just keep going and going and going with this and keep adding lots and lots of layers of colour. You could leave it as a working study that you just keep coming back to every now and again when you want to just do a little bit of relaxing drawing and colouring. Or you could keep it very simple with just hints of colour and have quite a minimal effect using these techniques as well. Okay, so I hope you enjoy having a go at this. So what we have here is our composition, our flower doodle. Composition inspired by Angela Wynne. As you can see, I've done a variety of different doodles on here, added colour in a variety of different ways as well. So we've got watercolour pencil, we've got blended and smudged water soluble pens, we've got chalk pastel adding colour, we've got a subtle pastel background as well. So these are all things that you can now carry on extending and developing further. You could also add in examples of your continuous line drawings that you did at the beginning for the warm-up. They look lovely in here. You could look at some natural like flowers that you find when you go out on a walk and add those in as well. So add some of your own doodles into this as well. You could have it absolutely full of detail or have it simpler. You could also work on a small scale or a really big scale. It's up to you what scale, whatever paper you have available. I quite like working on long strips of paper as well. That can look quite nice with doodles, or transfer them onto handmade cards even, frame your picture. There's loads of different ways of developing this. So just remember, if you've used chalk pastels, use some hairspray to fix it. So I'm just going to do a little spray now, because you don't want it smudging on everything. But there's so many different ways you can develop this this work. So all you do is a very subtle spray of hairspray, and that will now fix the chalk pastels in place. Right, so if you are thinking of framing anything, just do that before you add the border so you don't get fingerprints on it. And then what we've got here now is, as you'll see on the screen, we've got a lovely example of a student's work that was done recently. So she did this workshop with me, and as you can see, she's created this absolutely stunning composition. You'll probably be able to see examples of the natural little flower heads that I showed you at the beginning of the video in there. There's some examples of the continuous line, there's some work by Angela Wynne, and there's also some of her own drawings as well that she's worked on in here. And she's added, she's created, this is actually a very subtle painted background, and you could create the same effect with chalk pastels, soft pastels. And she's worked into it with coloured pencils, watercolour pencils, and with paint as well. So these are next steps of things that you could do after this session. There's no pressure to do that, but I just want you to see this as a lovely source of inspiration. How something so simple and so basic can create the most beautiful, stunning outcomes. So that's this session come to an end now. So I really hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it's given you lots of ideas for how to develop your work further and introduce flower drawing in a way that's really simple, accessible for everybody, but it's got so much potential. So thank you for joining in.